We love working with the New York City networking group. You have always been a huge support to everything that we're doing. And with that said, today you have brought us here to talk to people about how to find money and how to protect the investments that they buy with that particular money. I have a special guest. His name is Alex Goldvsky. He is from Protitle, great friend of mine. The two of us wanted to sit here together and really just kind of have a candid chat about how we have found money in the past for our current businesses, how we continue to find investors and money for things that we're looking to get involved in, and then what we do to protect them from a title standpoint. So I'm going to introduce Alex, have him tell you a little bit about himself, and I'll come back, reintroduce myself, and then we'll jump into where I go and where we go to find money and how we started our businesses. But Alex, how are you doing today?
Very good, Jasmine. Great to be here.
Yes, good to see you. So goodness, you have been with me since I started my firm, and I got to say thank you for that, because there's nothing like having familiar faces around on this journey, as you can imagine, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're friends forever. I'm telling you, Jasmine.
So tell me a little bit about, I mean, first of all, you've done so many tremendous things since I met you, but so take us from the beginning. Today, we want to talk to people about finding money, right? And I imagine you had to do the same to get your business started. So a little bit about yourself first, where you're from, and then how you came upon the idea to start Protitle.
Sure. So the accent that you hear is Ukrainian slash Belarus accent. Came to US in '91. Went through education, got my bachelor's from Temple, master's from Lehigh, engineering degree. Started my career with AT&T Bell Labs, Intel, Lucent, a lot of telecom companies. At some point, my wife started to bug me and said, listen, everybody's investing in real estate. That was pre-2008. How come you're not investing? And I was happy at the full-time job. I'm a very lazy guy. I nobody bugs me, and now I don't bug anybody. So my wife pushed me to start investing. Otherwise, I would never do it.
Sure.
Yeah, and I started buying rental properties, student housing, apartment buildings, and I used this one company for title research, and I really didn't like them at all. Because they were always inaccurate, and a few times it cost me money. And I said, yeah, that just not right. How can I pay for a service that completely is unreliable? And it cost me close to $25,000 in various losses. Yeah. So I started Protitle in 2007. And the reason why I started Protitle was I had an issue with the drug dealers, drug users in my rental properties.
Okay, so you're a landlord who was.
I was a slam landlord.
Last straw.
Exactly, and I tell you that I had a gun pointed at me while collecting rent. A lot of weird stuff going on, and I had my first baby. My wife said, "Get rid of everything." So I sold everything, and I just focused on developing the business. So that's how sort of I got started.
Well, wonderful. So since we are talking about raising money and finding money, you said, was that 25,000 what you spent on the title company, or is that what you took to start your business?
What I lost.
I lost. Okay.
Because of mistakes of the title search company and used.
Okay.
But yeah, I sold all my properties that that I acquired in the course of the couple of years. My wife forced me to get them, and I used that money to start my business. Now I can tell you that number one rule that I learned from the get-go: Google makes everybody equal. Either you're the huge company, multi-billion-dollar company, or you're as small as me when starting in 2007. It doesn't matter, right?
They flatten that plane, huh?
Yourself faceless, but great company in Google, you'll be treated the same way as the multi-billion-dollar company like First American, Stewart, or Fidelity.
So that's great. I mean, that's just a great attitude to have that usually, I can imagine, stops a lot of us from moving forward with a lot of our passions. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jasmine Willois. I am the president of the Note Assistance Program. Originally, if you hear my accent, I'm just joking, it's from New York City, which I joke, obviously. It's been a while since I've been there and had that, but that's where and why I talk so fast. And with that said, grew up in Southern California. Once I really got to appreciate this area, I fell in love with it. And so one of my original models was invest where you want and live where it's smart. So sorry, let's reverse that. It's invest where it's smart and live where you want. And so I always wanted to live in San Diego. And so I decided I have to get smarter about what I'm doing for investing. And that's when I stumbled upon mortgage note investing, and the community that surrounds that place really, really took to me. So I really found myself a second home, meeting people like Alex, etc. What we do is we train people how to invest in mortgage notes. And one of the things that's a barrier to entry for people in mortgage note investing is finding the money. So a lot of people say, and they think, well, I can't get involved in mortgage note investing because you need thousands upon thousands, hundreds to hundreds, millions and millions, whatever that number in your head of dollars to get started. So I'm here to let the average accredited investor, if you will, get an opportunity to jump into the market and figure out, like Alex said, how they can become and start making their way in their path to becoming like those big multi-million-dollar companies or big billionaires who call in. So Google is one of the things that we use as well to flatten it, but my program is here to flatten that curve as well. Today, we're talking about finding money. And so one of the things that Alex brought up was that he liquidated some of his current asset. But one of the things that I really want to stress with you guys is do not treat your business like it's an MLM. Okay, so what do I mean by that? This is not something, in my opinion, that you want to go and start asking your mom for money for. Your mom and your dad spent enough money as it is, just getting you across the board and out the house and keeping you alive, right? So let's try the best we can. Of course, if you're someone who has a mom like Bill Gates, one of my idols, then hey, ask them for something. So that is one of my top two things, to just ask. So before we get to that though, just focus on what Alex talked about, is just look within. You may have some current assets that you can sell and liquidate, and you may not need as much as you thought, right? So in his case, he had acquired some rentals over the past couple of years. Some people listening to this, you may have one or two rentals. You may not have amassed as much as, let's say, one of the hedge funds out there, but what you have is a great place to start. You may have a second cars in there. Right now, cars are going for well above sticker, right? Whether they have an engine in it or not, okay? So, and I know this because there's a business model right now, Turo, that's really helping with that supply and demand, right? So Turo people are out there buying cars as long as they have the basics, and then they're just fixing it because they're making their money back by renting it out, right? So what I want to tell you is that you may currently have assets in your possession that you can liquidate to start your business. So first of all, thank you, Alex, for bringing that to our attention, because yeah, a lot of times we just look within, we think we have nothing when we have a lot.
I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the statistics I learned was that 90% of, and I think that's the right statistic, but 90% of the wealth that Americans hold is not liquid. It's in their homes or their cars or other assets.
Yeah, let me tell you, just to add to what you said, I just came back from a huge conference in Miami. It's a flagship conference from IMN, International Monetary Network.
Okay.
It's called SFR, Single Family Rental Conference, 2,000 attendees. I'd say 10 to 15% are lenders for real estate deals.
There it is.
Money up to 100 million per deal to lend. If you present them a deal, they'll review it, they'll appraise it, and they'll give you money. So that's all they do. What they don't have is projects and deals. Nobody's presenting to them. It's amazing. The money is there on the table. Go and get it. Try to live on the margin, right? So the money is out there, especially now, a lot of money.
So that leads me to number two, which is just ask. Like, part of my motto for this year is the year of the tiger. So I'm like, this is my year. Whatever I ask for, I'm going to get. And it's actually been working, right? So whether that's just my mindset or whether there's something to be said about it, regardless of what year it is, whether it's your year of the tiger, year of the squid, whatever it is, you just ask. Closed mouths do not get fed. And how did I start my business, since we are going down that path? When I first got into real estate investing, I did just what Alex told you to do. I got up and went to a conference. Back then, there was a company called New Year's, for those of you who may or may not remember them. But anyway, long story short, they were having all these big conferences. Like Alex said, they were bringing hundreds of people into the room. I went to the first conference and I listened. I didn't necessarily subscribe to what they were pitching because it sounded a little crazy. They were actually encouraging people at the time, and this is not one of my things to do list, but they were encouraging people at the time to go get a student loan, right? And then go use it for their education and or to buy property. So that's not one of my suggested things, okay? We're still on number two. But when I heard that, it made me feel kind of dirty inside of like, this is not appropriate. So in my mind, I said, there has to be someone else in here thinking the same thing I am. This is not appropriate. And so I went home the next day and I put together, I'm not kidding, and this is number 3 I'm going to tell you, is put together a business plan. It sounds cheesy, it sounds old school, it sounds barbaric, but it will work for you. I went home and I put together a business plan. Back then, it was an actual paper business plan. So nowadays, you guys can put together a PowerPoint and all the gadgets that you do to make it more up to date. But with that said, I had a business plan and I went to the very next meeting that they had. And I went to the people that were standing on the peripheral, on the outside of the meeting, right? So not the people that were sitting up front, all, sipping the Kool-Aid, but the people on the outside with their hands crossed like this. And I went to them slowly and said, hey, how you doing? My name's Jazz. I introduced myself. Let's pull away and talk for a minute in the lobby. What do you think about the speech? What do you think about this? Boom, drop something on their plate. Told them, look at my business plan and get back to me. Within 3 or 4 of those events, I had over $500,000 of people ready to back my business plan, not the plan that was being pitched on stage. So again, one of the things that's most important when I talk to you about how to find money, it is out there. People are looking, they have more money than they have deals right now.
Yeah, I think networking is very important. Like your example, I started the same way. I started to go through conferences, and the advertising online for my business became secondary. So
Right.
People recognized me, my face as a brand name of the company, and went around all conferences, sponsored, exhibited, just attended. And just know that if you know somebody who exhibits, they have free passes. You can get to the conferences for free if you're a friend of somebody's, who exhibits at the conferences. Go there and chat with people. Typically, the deals are made at the bar or a golf course.
Yes, sir.
Right? You go to the bar, you talk to the guys that sit there, they're just chit-chatting about anything. And you ask them about, this is my proposal, this is what I want to do, and they will 100% recommend to talk to somebody that they know. And
or at least give you some advice, right?
Yeah, and you start your own network of folks, and just follow through, contact, be polite, and you'll grow very fast. Let me tell you one thing that, just like me and Jasmine, we're friends, and everybody in this small industry are friends on the scale of portfolio trades. We know everybody and anybody in the industry. If you're a newcomer, oh my God, we'll introduce you to people that you need to know, right? It's a pleasure for us. Yes. And every time we're on stage, we're smiling. Why? We're having fun, right?
Yes. So that networking piece is going to be that 4th part that I want you guys to really hone in on, because honestly, especially after we're breaking out of the pandemic, there's a lot of pent up, just excitement to get involved with things. So as normal people were able to go over, would be able to have gone out and find their own deals, that has already been cut down because of the pandemic, right? Only the bravest of the brave are out still looking for deals, right? At that time. So now we have a pent up amount of just energy and dollars waiting to see what you have. So do not be discouraged by no matter what's going on. People talking about there's a pandemic coming up. I'm sorry, a recession coming up. Don't let any of that get in your mind, right? So my 5th tip is going to be stay headstrong. Okay, regardless of what's going on out there, money is raised, deals are done in good times and in bad times. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can tell you that we have more business during bad times, during recessions.
I was going to say, right.
Yeah. You get more defaults. The movements on the price is significant. This is a huge opportunity for the market. So right now there's a momentum on Ginnie Mae loans, for example. If you're in the mortgage business, where folks that got the mortgages with the poor FICO scores, right, are insured by Ginnie Mae, and they had some high interest rates. With the Fed's raising interest rate, guess what? Those loans will start defaulting, and they will be presented to the market as an opportunity to buy and do something with the borrower or with the property. There's a lot of reverse mortgages out there, so that's a very niche market where people wait until the house is available through the hot sale of the reverse mortgage. It's called vacant sales, when the borrower is deceased and you're basically buying the property. Right. Those deals are available. There's for newly originated loans, you have HELOCs, right? So in other words, we know that the property appreciated by 30, 100, 200%, especially in Florida. It's crazy. The prices went up in 2 years, tripled. Nobody can touch Florida anymore. I looked at the properties in Boca and Del Rey and Miami. It's great. It's unrealistic. Naples, right? It's unrealistic. But what it gave an opportunity for households that don't plan to sell to take the HELOC mortgages, right? So that's going to be a huge market. Non-QM or foreign individual loans. All of those are niche market that's right now getting on fire, getting momentum.
Funny you bring that up, because I just bought some international loans, the ITIN loans as well. Those are some of my favorite ones. So really, moving on to number 6, it kind of ties into this, which is the fortunes in the follow-up. Okay. And so one of the things that he's presenting to you, and I just want to make it more clear, is that these relationships are very important. So follow up with the people that you meet, even if it's more on a non-business level at first, because people find interest in you for a reason, right? And at that point, once you get to know them, then they start thinking in their Rolodex, who can I refer you to, even if I cannot assist you? And so again, the fortunes in the follow-up, don't ever leave a stone unturned, especially if you're looking for money. And you always want to get out there and put your message in front of as many people as possible. So I have a 7th one. It was going back to finding money. And sometimes we all think we don't have much. So one of the places that I've been most successful in raising capital for note purchases is helping myself or other friends find old 401ks from when they left jobs. Most of you listening to this seminar, this webinar, we're not spring chickens. Most of you listening, we're well out of high school. And so we've had 2, 3, 4 jobs at this point in our lives. And so have the people we've talked to. A lot of us don't think about them. We just leave because we're all excited about the new venture. And we forget about the 10, 20, 30, $50,000 that we left in a retirement account. And so one of the things that you can do to have access is start talking to people about the idea that you have, and then letting them know when they're ready to warm up to it, you can help them roll over with the third-party administrator. So actually be friends, build a relationship with a self-directed IRA specialist, which is going to be my 8th tip there. Maybe we're on number 7. My 7th tip there is going to be find your self-directed IRA companies and go to their events. Okay. So going back to networking, going to the self-directed IRA events, because you're going to find people that have already rolled over, and you can get a relationship with the administrator there who can help you talk to your other friends about rolling over. What you do not want to do is try to become the expert at everything. As you notice, when I need to know something about title, I call Alex. You notice when I need to know something about self-directed IRA, I'm on the phone with Quest or any of my other people that I work very closely with. So if you can become that person and centralize yourself with someone with credibility, that is going to help you with the fundraising.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think defining the market is also super important, right? You have to really understand the future market, what to expect, align yourself with opportunities, right? So in real estate, not only you can buy properties, mortgages, you can buy, HOA liens, tax liens. So there's a lot of opportunities. Try to learn what venues you have. You can buy land, you can buy construction loans, commercial loans, leases, and so on, contract for deeds. So there's just a lot of areas of investments that one can look at, and knowing what's going to happen with the interest rates, try to position yourself for the hot market. Anticipate the hot market and align your capital, such as 401ks or lending money from the institution. Yeah, I think you'll be successful. Last no one else, Jasmine.
And that's going to lead me to my last 2 recommendations for you guys who are out there looking to find and raise money for your assets without, again, turning into an MLM specialist and going in and knocking on your mom and your grandma's door, right? So Alex brought up some good points about the actual inventory, knowing the business, which is why I choose not to be half professional title expert, half, expert at this, that, and the other. You pick your lane, if it's land, if it's notes, and you become an expert at that. You attend as much education as you can. So when you're speaking to someone about the product, you're educated, because my last 2 pieces of advice are going to be specifically about that. You have to have something. A lot of times it's smarter to go out and find the deal or the product before you find the money. Because if you haven't picked it up, the money is here. That's one thing we want to get across from you, that there's money everywhere. There's not a shortage of funds. There's definitely a shortage of deals. So if you can spend the time finding yourself the deal, there are many people I know right now who, as Alex pointed out, in my opinion, were just kind of advised a little, in not the best way, because they're out there doing websites right now. Alex and I both can attest that we did deals and made money before our websites were up and running, because it's all about relationships, right? So work on getting these things done before you're worrying about some of the more superficial things. So one, when you join the Notice Assistance Program, we teach you to put together a spreadsheet so you can outline the entire risk in numbers for your potential partner, right? So you're going to get that and you're going to know your deal inside and out. So that when you present it to the person, should they have interest, then you say, let me connect you with a Quest representative who can help you access the money at your last job. Let me connect you with so-and-so who can help you liquidate funds if you're looking to sell, what have you, liquidate a bond, whatever you need to do. But first and foremost, know your product, put together something that's in plain English. You don't always have to be sitting there with the Texas Instrument 500 or 5,000 calculator, right? Especially if you're not too familiar with how to use it. You can sometimes make more of a mistake or a bigger fool of yourself, if you will, by doing that. Many times, just get a basic spreadsheet, basic numbers. And again, you never know who you're sitting across the table from either. They may or may not be the person who can work well with these big calculators, right? So you may be intimidating them. So in my opinion, break it down to the most simple and basic transparent math, and then show it to these people, but know your product, as Alex said. My last tip for you is just have a brag book. This is what my grandmother used to say, have a brag book. So call it what you will, but have some, whether they're testimonials, actual examples of deals that you have done in the past, or someone that you know closely has done in that same industry. It's really about showing results and then a prospective opportunity for them. If you can get those two things in the same close at the same meeting, you're going to get someone hooked, and then you're going to start doing the follow-up, because I said the fortune's in the follow-up.
Yeah, I agree. And you said something super important. Try to work, at least for the first deal. Let's say you're buying notes with Jasmine, somebody who's done it before, knows what to do. She will help you to align you as an investor with all the ecosystem partners, because you probably need 10 or 15 companies that you have to have on your fast dial to go and call for title, BPO, AVM, 401k advice, money, anything, right? So you have to build your ecosystem for processing all the things that you must have. And the only way to know is going through Jasmine course, right? Somebody who've done it before, many deals, and can easily recommend if you're doing things right or wrong, or you're skipping step, right? So make sure that you work with somebody initially who've done this before. Don't try to be a pioneer and do your own thing. Trust me, you'll run into problem with law. So
it's funny.
Right.
It's funny you say that. I sent some people to the Paper Source event recently. I don't know if you're able to make it, but there's a prevailing attitude to some of these events that, hey, I just want to do it on my own and take the risk and, ride a cowboy and see if I make it. So I can appreciate that attitude for those of you out there, but if you value your time, which is probably one of the most important things that you have, if you value your time, I'm a component of a mentorship and friendship. And that's why Alex, I have questions. He's my mentor, hands down, when it comes down to things I need to do. And with that said, I really want them to tell you, I really like Alex to tell you a little bit about his new business as we wrap this up, because when we talk about mentors, one of the things that I look for is someone that has an expertise that I may not have, and then also has an entrepreneurship and ability to recognize opportunities. So he just did a recent acquisition, and he's going to tell you more about it, but this is a company that I am now happily engaged with as well. So he's helping me expand my network with more trusted vendors that I need to make my business successful. Tell us a little bit about your new acquisition.
Thanks, Jasmine. Yeah, so in December, outside of tax and title company that I currently own, I have acquired a company called Doc Solution. It's really needed for anything and everything related to real estate when you have to do recording of the documents at the county offices, right? So anytime you do a transaction, there's a document called assignment of mortgage. You bought a mortgage, or when you buy a property, there's a deed. All of those documents you need to record in the county offices. So I have made this acquisition to make a seamless process to go from title research that's needs to happen during due diligence when you buy REO properties, real estate, or notes, and reusing the data to create the documents that are being recorded in the county offices. And that's also a mandatory step. So I made the process simple, very transparent. And then the third business that I own, not just three businesses now, it's a startup that I funded to extract the data from various documents on title.
Oh, okay.
So to make sure that I accurately extract data from all the PDF files or documents that's very custom in this business. And then I can compare this data with data tape, which is used to evaluate the deals. or the recorded documents, or the title search, or the note, or a title policy. So now I deal with all kinds of documents, and I deal with the big data. So I tend to extract the data and make a decision whether the documents are accurate, or there's an issue with the documents. And I can now create all kinds of exception reporting that can be used for negotiation. So now we're getting into the weeds of the process. And to me, it's super exciting. I love my job, right? Not just sitting at full-time job or doing the same thing. I constantly invent. That's what I love all the time. It's constantly evolving with the case law, with the new things in the market, new products. That makes me super excited.
Well, we can tell how passionate you are. I think that our levels of passion is what keeps us together, because we're here truly to make a difference in our markets. And I have already successfully, I want to say we just put an offer of about 30 or 40 someone notes through the Doc Solutions. I'm very familiar with that company. So when I heard that you were buying them, I was like, what a great acquisition. Again, this is him thinking about us, believe it or not. How can he help us streamline all what we're going through as note investors, as real estate investors, developers? So he works with everyone in the chain. So if you're listening to this and you are considering getting into notes, but you're currently new construction, he's still here, someone that can help you look for things. And when the idea that he just described to us is really going to be huge to helping us, one, like he said, on the negotiation side, if we find something wrong up front, on that paperwork that we're looking at, on the assignments. So this is where I'm really excited about it, because if we can compare, we can ask up front, say, hey, we're going to need a screener's affidavit for this, because on this paperwork, the APN number is incorrect, right? And these are things that if you find out 2 or 3 years after the deal's done, and only when you have to execute, some force of eviction or foreclosure, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to get that, strictly because so much time has passed by. So getting that done up front is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, taking a step back, we've been Inc. 5000 fastest growing company in the United States for the past 6 years in a row.
That's amazing.
We've been growing like crazy. Our clients are buying one loan or 20,000 at the time, 20,000 loans. So we work with some of the largest funds out there, and even, let's just say government. For me to go from somebody who was just a small time buyer of real estates, local real estates, to somebody who deals with the large lenders and governments, I couldn't imagine that. So it took some time, but it's dedication, it's networking, knowing Jasmine. So just get your path started and you'll get there.
So let's end on that note, and because it's such a positive note and it's one that inspires me. So here's how I'm going to encapsulate it. For those of you who are out there and you've got that spouse who's sitting there poking you, go do something different. You've got more inside you. You can do better. Listen, maybe take a listen, because as far as I'm concerned, when I meet your wife, I'm going to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I owe it all to you, because honestly, we can all relate to that, right? We have someone at home who believes in us, and we might be very content with what we're doing, and we can't imagine the success that's in front of us. And sometimes it's just a matter of just getting pushed. So I want to say thank you for pushing me to be better in my business. And thank you again for coming out for us to network with Anthony in the New York City Networking Group.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jasmine.
My pleasure.
Wow, you guys are natural. You guys were a natural. You guys did it very well. Very nicely done. Alex, it was a pleasure to hear everything about you, and congrats with the business. I'm glad your wife told you to get into the business. That's exciting. And that's always good to hear stories like that. Really, Jasmine's something special. We love her. And by all means, guys, I really want to appreciate it. This is a great little tool you just made here, and this should be definitely forwarded out to as many people as you can. I want to conclude here. I want to thank Jasmine and Alex, and I want to thank all of you out there streaming, and especially the people that did show up on live. We want to thank you. We do apologize for no Q&A, and guys, have a great weekend. And I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.